Before we start, I have a red box in the upper left-hand corner of my screen, but I don't see it on any of yours.
Hello, my name is Lucy Redzeposki, and I am the Director of Economic Development and Tourism for Rockland County. I'd like to welcome you all to today's webinar and thank you for joining us. We're going to be providing you with valuable information regarding the $800 million COVID-19 Pandemic Small Business Recovery Grant Program that was announced in June by Governor Cuomo. The webinar today is part of the state and our county's effort to ensure that the Rockland small business community is able and aware of these opportunities so that they can benefit from these programs. I would also like to inform you that the county has begun its own program to revive and rebuild Rockland. On the county website, rocklandgov.com, there is a business survey that we encourage you to complete so that we can better determine how to best utilize the funds that Rockland will receive from the American Rescue Plan. It is now my pleasure to introduce a great supporter of our business community, an individual that is always ready to assist in any way that he can to ensure that our small business community here in Rockland thrives. Our County Executive, Ed Day.
Lucy, thank you very much for that, and good afternoon to everyone. My special thanks to Empire State Development for their presentation today, and to everyone else who's taking part. You know, as we emerge and recover from the damage caused by a pandemic, we are focused on continuing to support local businesses and residents any way that we can. The $800 million available through the COVID-19 Pandemic Small Business Recovery Grant Program is critical to helping eligible small and micro businesses and for-profit independent arts and cultural organizations take the next step in bouncing back. I encourage everyone eligible to apply for this funding and share the information presented today with your colleagues. We are all in this together. It will remain on our YouTube page for reference, and there is local assistance in applying available. Special thanks out to Tom Morley and the New York SBDC for participating today. I know Tom will cover this further, but we appreciate their willingness to provide direct assistance to all small businesses needing help with accessing or preparing for the program. Tom has been very helpful in this regard, and we look forward to his continued commitment to our county. Rockland County, however, is truly making progress, and I'd like to share something with you. Our June unemployment rate is down to 4.8%. Now, this is an incredible bounce back from the 12.3% unemployment rate we had in June of 2020. And as most do know, we're fighting some well-intentioned government programs that, frankly, is making it more difficult to get that unemployment rate down. But we are right now a little over 1 percentage point higher than we were coming into 2019, when we, coming into 2020 from 2019. So we are doing quite well now. I have no doubt with the continued support of New York State and other resources we can bring to bear, we will come back better and stronger than ever before. I wanted also to take a moment to encourage all of our businesses to take the Reviving and Rebuilding Rockland survey that we launched last week and that Lucy just alluded to at rocklandgov.com. These survey results will help us determine how to spend the $63.18 million in American Rescue Plan or ARP funding we're receiving from the federal government. My belief very strongly is this has to be a bottom-up approach. You know what hurdles you have faced, you know what hurdles you had to overcome, but we need to fully understand what you've been through so we can get this money to those who truly need it in our community. So again, please go to rocklandgov.com and click on the Reviving and Rebuilding Rockland bullet points to access the surveys and additional information. And feel free to bookmark that page, as it will be updated frequently throughout this process with the latest information. Our goal here is to invest in our county, leave it stronger than ever before when we are through this process. So I want to thank you all again, and I'll turn this back to Lucy. Lucy?
I would now like to welcome Al Samuels, President of the Rockland Business Association. The RBA, under Al's leadership, advocates, promotes, and supports our business community. Al is involved in numerous programs throughout the county and the state, all of which benefit the businesses here in Rockland. Al has a wealth of information and is always available to help businesses move forward in the county. It is my pleasure to introduce Al Samuels.
Thank you so much, Lucy. I appreciate that introduction. And good afternoon to everybody who was tuned in. This is such an important program that the state is bringing to you. I believe 330,000 small and micro businesses in New York State have been determined to be eligible for access to these grants. I want you to also know that the business associations in New York State very aware of the fact that our micro businesses, particularly those businesses with 10 or fewer employees, have been so harmed through the COVID pandemic situation of the past 17 months. And we are looking to also provide benefit. So in addition to what you're going to hear in a little while about this $800 million program, I want you to know that the Business Council of New York State, which is the largest organization representing businesses in the state of New York, is entered into a pilot program with a few of the chambers, business associations like the RBA, to create a small business membership alliance made up just of those micro businesses. And for any one of those businesses that happens to belong to a group like the Rockland Business Association, you're going to be given a free membership in the State Business Council. And that's going to give you access to a members-only content page. It's going to give you updates and analysis from the state organization Small Business Committee, participation in e-advocacy programs through the State Business Council, member pricing for Business Council sponsored conferences and events, subscription to all of the publications that they have, discounts on products and services, the opportunity for micro businesses to perhaps develop a 401k program, which is administered through the State Business Council. This is a marvelous opportunity. And in Rockland County, according to the latest statistics that I've seen from the State Department of Labor, fully 93% of Rockland's businesses have 10 or fewer employees. This is an outstanding opportunity for Rockland businesses, number one, through the $800 million program to get grants of up to $50,000, and for them also to gain a participatory role with the State Business Council at no additional cost than their membership in the RBA. And I welcome the opportunity to help you folks, with joining those organizations and getting that assistance. Thank you, Lucy.
I think Lucy might still be muted. I think Lucy was about to introduce me. I'm Tom Morley. I'm director of the Small Business Development Center. We're based over at Rockland Community College. And I'd like to thank Ed and acknowledge the county executive's commitment to small business. In the first days of the pandemic, we were in a studio bringing information to people. Thousands of businesses logged on. And Ed has been very supportive of that, and encourage you to reach out to RBA and Al, who's been there every step of the way with us also. The New York State Small Business Development Center, based at Rockland Community College, right here in the county, provides free management and technical assistance to business. That takes a lot of forms. We understand the importance of local recovery and the importance of recovering in each of our towns and villages and areas and how interrelated Rockland County is. There's a lot of tools and a lot of programs that are available out there. The SBDC can help you understand which ones you can and should use, what the interaction between some programs is. You know, for example, if you get program A, you can't get B, but if you get A, you can get C and D. You know, we can help you figure that out. The state has come up with some programs that are nicely targeted, and as folks have said so far today, there's lots of businesses eligible, and there are folks that we run into all the time that will say, oh, but you know, it takes an hour to do the application. I got to get this information. I need a tax return. I need this. I need that. Well, yes, you do. But free money is kind of like free food. It always tastes a little better. And these are grant funds. You know, the government is going to give you money to help you recover, to help you get back to where you were, or to help you respond to, we keep hearing about the new normal in business. There are changes. We can call it new normal, we can call it orange, we can call it black, we can call it whatever we want to. But there is a new process for much business that we're doing nowadays. Business has become much more digital, much more electronic. Supply chain reliance is changing, things of that nature. Technology in business is changing. And this money that's out there can be very, very beneficial to businesses that just need to step their game up a little bit, that need to get back to where they were or surpass where they were. And you know, I can't underestimate the importance of having the resources available to do that. I look forward to hearing a little bit later in our program from ESD, Empire State Development. They're administering this program on behalf of the governor. And I encourage everybody to pay lots of attention and, you know, make notes of any questions and whatever, and reach out, and we'll do everything we can to help you. Thank you kindly. Take care. And back to Lucy now.
Thanks, Tom. Yes, my microphone was muted. Thank you for jumping in. I appreciate that. And yes, I'd like to just make a couple of remarks about the Small Business Development Center at Rockland Community College. I have personal experience in sending many individuals that come looking for information about businesses and how to start a business, what kind of training do I need, what kind of training is available. And the Small Business Development Center has always been extremely helpful. So thank you and your staff for all the work that you do, because it is greatly appreciated here in the county. Our next speaker is Huey-Min Chang. We are so pleased that Ms. Huey-Min Chang, the Senior Director of Business Development at Empire State Development, New York, is here with us today. She works in strategic policy and program development for small businesses, minority and women-owned enterprises, disaster relief initiatives, and overall state economic development projects. She has over 25 years of experience in investment banking, nonprofit management, government, and entrepreneurship development. Ms. Chang, thank you so much for joining us, and we look forward to your presentation.
Thank you so much. I'm going to upload the presentation now. Okay, can you see the presentation?
Yes.
Great, thank you. Thank you so much, County Executive Day, Rockland County Businesses, Lucy and Tom Morley from SBDC for being part of this presentation where we are promoting the $800 million COVID-19 pandemic small business recovery grant program, and I will be able to provide information about the program, how you can apply, who can apply, how much grant you can receive if you're eligible, what documentation you may need, as well as next steps on the application. So without further ado, I am going to present the program guide, also with the specific answers to questions you may have. And if you find that the answer you were looking for were not in the presentation, please have them ready, that you could put in your questions on the chat box, and basically will be answered at the end of the presentation. And as you may notice on this presentation, at the very top left corner, it looks like there are 40 pages. Do not worry, you will only be hearing from me in detail the first 12 pages. I'll walk through the last 28 pages, actually 28 pages, which are the screenshots about what happens after you apply. So you have an idea about what you're going to encounter once you decide you're going to be eligible to apply. So without further ado, I'm going to move on to the actual presentation about what is the program. So what is the $800 million COVID-19 pandemic small business recovery grant program? It's a program that was created by Governor Cuomo to assist small businesses, micro businesses, and for-profit arts and cultural independent organizations with flexible grant assistance program that may have been impacted by COVID-19 and may have been experiencing economic hardship. Now, with the program presentation, you're going to find out what flexible grant financing uses are for, who is eligible small business, micro businesses, and for-profit independent arts and cultural organizations, and what is consistent with the economic hardship definition for this grant program. For all the program slide deck that you're going to see that I will be presenting, you can find it at www.nysmallbusinessrecovery.com. Once again, it could be found at www.nysmallbusinessrecovery.com. And the toll-free number for any questions that I may not answer for you at the end of the presentation, or that you may have new ones as you go through the application or you review the program guide, you can call from Monday to Friday from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. at 1-877-721-0097. Once again, the toll-free number is 1-877-721-0097. Now, once you actually visit the program guide, which you'll find at the website www.nysmallbusinessrecovery.com, at the middle of the webpage, you will find out that you are eligible to receive up to $50,000 in grant funds, depending on your gross receipts in 2019 that you file with the federal government, with the IRS tax return they may have filed. So for any grantee interested in applying for this program, you'll be able to receive $5,000 or up to $50,000. If your gross receipts in 2019 was $25,000 to $49,999, you'll get an award of $5,000. If your gross receipts is between $50,000 and $99,999, you qualify for a $10,000 grant program. If you actually do have a gross receipt in your 2019 tax returns between $100,000 and $500,000 or greater than $500,000, with your gross receipt capped at $500,000 in the year 2020, you can receive up to $50,000 or 10% of your maximum gross receipts of that year. So I did mention that if your gross receipt in 2019 is greater than $500,000, as long as your gross receipts in 2020 filed tax return with IRS is under $500,000, you can still apply for the program. But your maximum award will be up to $50,000. You may have also noticed that on the slide, you see that the applicant can apply for more than one grant because the grant is per business. Yes, you can apply for more than one grant as long as you have independently distinctive IEN number on your tax returns. So if your employer identification number are distinctive from one another, you can apply for more than one grant. For sole proprietor, they may file Schedule C. As long as you have distinctive Schedule C file with your 1040, you can apply for more than one grant. So I'm going to give you now the definition that we are using to define the small business for this program. So a small business is a business that is currently resident in the state of New York, incorporated in the state of New York, licensed or registered to do business, that is also independently owned and operated, not dominant in the field, and that has fewer than 100 employees. For micro business definition, which I believe Al mentioned before in his introduction, a micro business is any business that also meets the criteria that I just mentioned before, but that has fewer than 10 employees. A for-profit independent arts and cultural organization that qualify for this program is a small, medium-sized private for-profit independently operated live performance venue, promoter, production company, performance-related business located in the state of New York that have been negatively impacted by COVID-19 health and safety protocols, and that have fewer than 100 full-time equivalent employees. What do I mean by full-time equivalent employees? For every 40 hours worked per week, it counts as one full-time employment in this particular definition, because many of the small and medium-sized private for-profit independent arts and cultural organizations have cyclicality in this business. Also, they may employ seasonal employees or contract part-time employees. So you can calculate all the total numbers of hours worked per week by 40 hours per week to arrive at the final number, and that number has to be 100 or fewer full-time equivalent employees. Now, I want to pause for a second and actually encourage you to imagine what social life was like prior to COVID when you were restricted by health and safety protocols. restricted movement where you can gather and enjoy these amenities within the entertainment industry. So if you want to support your community with your film theaters, your music halls, with opera houses, media, entertainment places, please reach out to them to let them know about this grant program. We'd like them to apply to receive the cash flow that they may need right now to support their recovery or to engage in expenses that were unable to be paid out during COVID that they are interested in being able to pay them right now. Please help them sustain their business and so that you can enjoy the activities that you did prior to COVID. So those include the ones I mentioned before, as well as architecture, dance, design, museums, visual arts, folk arts, and casting services. Now, all applicants eligible for the program must prove that they were impacted by COVID-19 health and safety protocols. And what do we mean by that? We mean the restrictions that were imposed on the operations of the businesses that are applying for the grant by the Executive Order 202 of the 2020 that was issued by Governor Cuomo, and any subsequent extensions of the executive order issue in response to COVID-19 pandemic, or any other statute, rules, or regulation that were imposing restrictions for the business operations and businesses in general in response to COVID-19. So I believe 99.9% of all small businesses, micro businesses, and for-profit independent arts and cultural organizations can meet this criteria based on what I just described. So additional qualification for the small businesses. So in addition for being one of the defined entities that can apply for the program, you have to satisfy 2 additional calculations to qualify into the program. And the first one is one that talks to small businesses, micro businesses, and for-profit independent arts and cultural organizations that are currently must be viable and have begun operation on or before March 1st of 2019. And then continue to be operational at the day of the application, although you can be shuttered due to COVID-19 restrictions. Now, what do we mean by viability, the way we describe it here? We mean that if you take the IRS tax return you filed for 2019, and you go to the line that has the net profit number, it must be greater than $1. So as long as that number shows greater than $1 on your 2019 tax returns at the net profit line, you are defined as viable for this application, as a business that is viable for application. Now, also, I said the secondary requirement is that you also must showcase that you have a loss of gross receipts, at least 25%, when you compare your 2020 tax return versus 2019 tax returns. So as long as your business were impacted by COVID, but at least 25% in loss of gross receipts, you're eligible to apply for the program. Now, where can you find these numbers for your gross receipts? You can go to your, if you're a sole proprietor, 1040 Schedule C filer, it will be on your line 1 of the tax return. Also, for those who file partnership and corporations, you could find them in line 1A of your IRS tax return, 1120 or 1065. For all other types of filers that like to identify for sure what line they should be looking at when comparing their gross receipts, as well as identifying their net profits, please call the toll-free number 1-877-721-0097 if you need assistance, or you could also schedule an appointment with Tom Morley's SPTC locally, where he provided the phone number in an earlier slide that you can call to make an appointment for free to talk about your individual cases or review some of the identified documents or eligibility criteria that I mentioned so far. You can also, if you're in a location where you're not able to get to Rockland County SPTC or be able to make an appointment with them at a convenient time for you, there are 68 other technical assistance providers that you can also find information about the program on the webpage www.nysmallbusinessrecovery.com. At the top right navigation bar, you can have a drop down, or you can identify a partner by location or by the language that you're interested in looking into. I'm sorry if you do hear echo in the background about noises on construction in my neighborhood. I apologize for that. I hope it's not a huge disturbance. I am going to try to make sure you don't hear them if I can. So once you actually do identify those 2 qualifying events, which is the loss of revenue and your gross receipts and your net profit of greater than $1, we also want to make sure that the grant amount that you receive is not greater than the total expenses that you have in your tax returns in 2020. So for example, if you qualify for a grant of $10,000, but your total expenses in 2020 is only $8,000, you'll be capped at the award of $8,000 for your grant. We also must have your business in substantial compliance with applicable federal, state, local laws, regulation, codes, and requirements in order to proceed with the application. You also should not have owed any federal, state, local taxes prior to July 15 of 2020, or unless you have a moratorium in place negotiated or approved repayment plan, deferral plan, or other applicable agreement with appropriate federal, state, and local taxing authorities. We also must have you not have qualified for Business Grant Assistance Program under the Federal American Rescue Plan Act of 2021, or any other available federal COVID-19 economic recovery or business assistance grant program, including loan forgiven under the federal Paycheck Protection Program, or are unable to obtain sufficient business assistance for such federal programs. I know what I just mentioned was a mouthful, but there are exceptions to those who did apply for the Federal American Rescue Plan Act that we have been able to approve for. This particular language was taken out directly from the legislation that enacted the $800 million grant program. So as long as you have applied for the Paycheck Protection Program loans totaling $100,000 or less, you're eligible to apply. That means if you apply for Paycheck Protection Program loan version 1, version 2, forgiven partially or fully forgiven or none forgiven, as long as the total award amount is less than $100,000, you're good to go for application. Also, for those who did apply for COVID-19 IEDL advance grant of $10,000 or less, you can also proceed with the application. Also, if you apply and tap into the COVID-19 IEDL supplemental targeted advance grant program of $5,000 or less, you also still are qualified to apply for the program. Lastly, if you did apply for SBA shuttle venue operator grant in any amount and approved for any amount, you're still good to apply for the grant program. If you apply for all four, and you got awarded within the limitations that I described below, you're eligible to proceed with the application. So additional information about the application. Each applicant have to provide proof and evidence acceptable to the state of New York that you are operational and that you're not restricted currently by any state, local, or other agency mandate to remain closed. Due to unlimited amount of funding, over $800 million sounds like a large number. We do have hundreds of thousands of businesses that could qualify for this program, given the definition that we provided before. And there will be a high volume of requests, as we expect them to be. We will prioritize awards of the grants based on business types, geography, industry, as well as prioritization will be given to socially and economically disadvantaged business owners. That includes, but is not limited to, minority and woman-owned businesses, service disabled veteran-owned businesses, veteran-owned businesses, or businesses that are located in communities that were economically distressed prior to March 1st of 2020, as determined by the most recent census data. So for those of you who heard this and said, oh no, but I'm not certified, do not worry, certification is not a criteria for award prioritization, as long as you have your business being 51% more owned by a minority woman person, or a minority person, or a woman-owned person, or service disabled veteran and veteran person. You can declare yourself as a minority-owned business or veteran-owned business to be given priority in consideration for awards. All right, so now we know who's eligible. So who are ineligible then for the business application? Well, if you're a nonprofit, churches, and other religious institutions, you're not eligible to apply. If you're a government-owned entity or elected official offices, you're not eligible for this grant. Businesses primarily engaged in political and lobbying activity are not eligible for the program, and businesses that receive awards from the SBA Restaurant Revitalization Grant Program is not eligible. Landlords and passive real estate income businesses, illegal businesses and enterprises, and other industry or business types as specified by Empire State Development. So once you want to proceed with the application, you go on to www.nysmallbusinessrecovery.com, and you can start an application process by registering for a username and a password, and you'll be completing all the initial application electronically. And basically, after you submit the application, you'll be invited to upload documentation on a link that will be specific to you. I will walk you through the screenshot a little bit of what it looks like in a couple pages down in this presentation. So now that you want to apply and you know how much you can qualify for, you want to know what do you need to support your application by providing the required documentation. So the documentation list is actually not difficult to obtain as long as you have filed the 2020 and 2019 taxes, and you can pick the documents I'm going to list right now to go through with you so that you know what you need to start gathering. And the most important part of successful application for this program is, besides completing the application from the very initial stages, is uploading this document in PDF format all once as a complete set of documents, and basically upload it when you are provided the link. So begin gathering this application documentation as soon as you want to apply. So what are those? So the first two are basically your full tax return for 2020 and 2019, which we'll be using for eligibility check off, basically. So we want to see that you have a gross receipt of 25% or more in reduction in losses in 2020 comparing to 2019, and that you're a viable business with a net profit of greater than $1. So do not provide just the first page or the last page of the tax return. We need the full set. So for LLCs, it will be the IRS Form 1120. For partnership, it's 1065 and Schedule K-1S. For sole proprietor, it is the IRS Form 1040, Schedule C. And if you provide incomplete documentation, you're going to be required to resubmit again so that you will not be a completed documentation update if they are not complete. And if you're required by the intermediary that has been hired to process these applications, which is lenderstreet.com, so lenderstreet.com will reach out to you to have you complete the IRS Form 4506-C. It's required for you to provide access for Lenderstreet and Empire State Development to get a copy directly from IRS. But not all applicants will be required to complete the IRS Form 4506-C if it's complete when you submit it in PDF format with all the pages. Next, after you submit the copy for 2019 and 2020 of tax returns, we need two copies of proof that you can showcase where your business location is, that it has to be in the state of New York, and yet currently operational. So what two sets of documents could you provide to satisfy that requirement? It could be any of the following list of documents. So don't worry about gathering all of them, just two. The first two you have in your hands are the two you're going to upload, and you'll be done with that requirement. So the copies of proof could be a current copy of the lease for your business, a utility bill, current business bank statement, current business mortgage statement, a business credit card statement, a professional insurance bill, a payment processing statement, NYS ST809 or ST100 sales tax collection documentation. So any two distinct documents from this list will satisfy this requirement. Now, for those who are copiously taking notes about what documentation they need right now, don't worry. You can visit www.nysmallbusinessrecovery.com. Scroll down to the middle of the page. There will be a complete set of this program guide that I'm going through with you that you can peruse at the end of the presentation to make sure that you check off the ones you can find. The program guide will be also available in 12 other languages besides English that I'll tell you what those languages are in a moment. In case you want to refer the program guide to other community partners or businesses that you think could use this particular grant fund. So next, required documents. We will have you fill out a schedule of ownership for anyone who owns more than 20% of your business, and the information that we're looking for are personal information such as social security numbers, names, addresses, phone numbers, emails, percentage ownership, and a photo ID for any owner with the 20% or more ownership in the business. So I would like you to write down the information, the answer to these personalized questions before you go onto the portal when you apply, so that it would take only 15 minutes for you to fill out the rest of the electronic application if you have this information. So you will not have to go back and forth trying to find the documentation. So write down the answer on a piece of paper, go to electronic application. I recommend doing that, so this will expedite the completion of the application in one run. We also need to see proof of employment if you are an employer business. So we're going to need you to submit your NYS 45 document that you file to figure out what the employment numbers are. But if you're a sole proprietor, you will not need to submit that. We also need a proof of business organization. We only need one copy of the following list, so only one. You do not need to go gather all of that I'm going to list right now, but just one copy. So one copy only out of this list could be a current copy of the business license you're utilizing for your business, a business certificate, a current certificate of organization, or certificate of assumed name, a DBA, a New York State certificate of authority, articles of incorporation, New York State municipality issued documents showing authorization to operate in the state of New York. So only one copy, not only one, not all. You do not need to submit all. Okay, so one set, one copy of one, either choose one and just submit that one. Lastly, the grant program will be administering the fund awards through electronic transfer. So if you do not have a bank account where you can have the fund transfer being enabled, we will need to set up a bank account for that. If you do not have a bank account right now, you can reach out to a technical service provider for free on the portal by dropping down on the menu, or contact SBDC, Tom Morley's organization, to see if they can help you link with an organization that can actually accept funds deposits, like a credit union or a local bank, or a CDFI, a community development financial institution that can accept funds on your behalf. So the only way you're going to get this grant is electronically done by transfer funds into your bank account. All right, once you receive the funds, once you have submitted the documentation, you've been approved and selected, what can you use the funds for? So I did say it was a flexible financing program, which is a grant fund, which means you don't have to pay back as long as the use is a legal use under the program. So what are the eligible uses of the funds? So grant funds must be used for COVID-19 related expenses that were incurred between March 1st of 2020 and April 1st of 2021. So the funds award cannot be utilized for any new expenses that do not fall within the dates I mentioned, which is March 1st of 2020 and April 1st of 2021. So you can use the funds awards for payroll costs, commercial rent, mortgage payments for New York State-based property, payment of local property or school taxes associated with a small business location in New York State, insurance costs, utility costs, cost of personal protection equipment necessary to protect workers, consumer health and safety, heating, ventilation, air conditioning costs, other machinery or equipment costs, supplies and material necessary for compliance of COVID-19 health and safety protocols, or any other documented typical recurring business expenses that you may have that were COVID-related as approved by Empire State Development. So I suggest, since the list is pretty long of what I mentioned so far for use of funds, use those funds that are up to 10% of your gross receipts in 2019 to pay for those that are recurring that you can justify pretty easily. Now, just remember, do not use the fund award for the same expenses you already got awarded a grant by any other source. So you have to keep the receipts for the money that you received that you may have paid down those expenses, in case you get requested for documentation down the road for compliance with the program or audit of the program. So what can you not use the funds for? You can use the grant awards for any amounts that you may have received through a federal COVID-19 relief package loan program. So you cannot use it to repay or pay down any portion of those loans you may have obtained through the federal COVID-19 relief or any other New York State COVID relief business assistance program. All right. So now that we have gone through who can apply, how much grant can you qualify for, what documentation you need, I'm going to talk a little bit about the application and also where do you go from here, the next steps. So once you go through the portal and you submit your electronic application, we're going to ask that you actually check up on applicant certifications. So when you do that, you have two options. You can actually go on the portal at www.nysmallbusinessrepublic.com and you see the 5 pages. Sorry, let me just scroll through that page. Okay, the screenshot of that page. So that page looks like this. It may look like a very extensive document, but actually it just goes through what I just mentioned about eligibility, and you assert and affirm to those facts and statements. And once you're comfortable after you read through it, just sign up here on page 5. You have 2 ways of doing that. You can print out the documents and sign and scan back, or you can just electronically sign those. If you do not know how to do either one of those 2 things, the program guide will go through each of the screenshots that will tell you how to do each of these steps. Or if you're not comfortable doing that, please reach out to a technical service provider technical assistance service provider like SBDC in Rockland County or Tom Morley's organization where the business counselor can help you, or you can also call the 1-877-721-0097 number to request that actually you would like to be matched with somebody on the drop-down list if you don't have access to a smartphone or to a computer to be able to schedule an appointment. And once you do that, I'm going to go through some of the tips for application now so that you can have a successful and seamless application process. We actually do not require, but we suggest you use Google Chrome for this application, and we give you tips about what to do once you get onto Google. We also need you to just follow through these screenshots if you have questions about how to open any of these advised tips in terms of getting through the technology to be able to have a seamless process. For example, they wanted to disable the pop-up blocker so we can get communication back to you step by step on your application. We do suggest that you provide all the documents in the PDF format, otherwise you will not be uploaded correctly. For each of the pages you are actually uploading, please make sure you scan them in one set, and you are capped at 50 megabytes for the upload. If you don't do that, you're going to get an email saying that you did not upload the documents correctly. You need to go back and redo it. So please do not take a photo, like this is incorrect down here. Do not take a photo of each page of the document. We need a scanned PDF copy. And if you do not know how to do that, please visit this page or visit one of the technical service providers or visit your local Staples who can help you with that. We also need a valid email address for you to receive all communications about the program. You receive emails back and forth from the application portal, and please watch out for emails from lendestreet.com. It won't be coming from Empire State Development or myself or the state of New York. You'll be communicating with lendestreet.com for all of your email confirmations or updates or uploads of documentation. The languages that are available on the portal, as well as for the program guide, is going to be available for those who may need it in Spanish, in Chinese, in Russian, in Yiddish, in Bengali, Korean, Haitian Creole, Italian, Arabic, Polish, Hindi, and German. So if you do have any need also to speak to somebody in any of these languages, the toll-free number I gave you, 1-877-721-0097, you can request for a customer service person who can connect you to a translator who can talk to you in your language. So now the last few slides are about the application. I'm not going to go through each page. I'm going to just highlight some special tips so that you can watch out for those. Please visit the program guide at your leisure after the webinar to read through the pages at your leisure in detail. So once you get onto the portal and you're ready to apply, you'll see a screen that pops up that says, New York State, you are now in line to start a new application for the grant program. New number of users at the time that we took the screenshot were 2,340 people, and the wait time was 5 minutes. But I believe that right now you can go on and the wait will be a lot less than 2 minutes. So just hold on and wait for your turn to open that new application. If you do not want to wait around, you can put your email address and you can get notified once it's your turn to apply. But I suggest that you just wait because it's going to be a lot less than 5 minutes. It's not going to be like a minute or two. So like I said, please gather the personal information on the notebook so it'll be easy for you once you get onto the portal to fill in the application information. If you'd like to get text messaging in terms of communication beyond the email, because a lot of email may go to spam box, junk box, please filter those and check for those once you have submitted application in case you do miss out on communication on your application. But if you want to opt in for the text SMS policy, please make sure you do opt in. You can also consent to getting calls directly to your phone number they may provide. So those are 2 tips in case you want to get additional communication from the grant program. All right, so these are just pages about the document, the information, personal information you may need for business owners and your business information. So just peruse those once you get to the portal. Okay, so once you're comfortable with the information that you can ask, you can submit those. Once you do, you can click and say, yes, I confirm that all the information I provided is accurate and I want to proceed with the application. Once you do click yes, you're going to get a confirmation email, and I know a lot of people are concerned about fraud and people accessing information and providing informal information that are representing that they are the entity and they are not. So make sure you look out for an email that looks like this on the right-hand corner here. There will be two branding icons, one from Empire State Development, one from Industry. There will be the 1-800 number right here. You'll have a confirmation message that says either it's complete or it's incomplete. And when it's complete, you invite you to upload your document on the specified link you're going to get, and the email will look like this. So just look up an email that looks like this, and if it doesn't look like this and you're suspicious, please do not click on that. Just call the toll-free number to verify your application status. So this is a screenshot where when you actually do get invited to upload documents, you'll be asked to use your username and password that you have signed up for. So make sure you have that with you. If you lose any of that information and need help with that, you can call the toll-free number again. So once you actually do upload your document, I'm going to just show you a screenshot about when you know you're done with the documentation upload, and you can just await information after the program reviews your application and review your documents, and they may send you information about whether you're selected or not. So when you look at this screenshot here on the right-hand side, all these colors need to be in green for you to have completed upload of documentation. So if you do not have all of these in green, just take a look and go back and make sure that what's required in red are submitted so that you can say you're complete with the application. So in terms of the blue sections, you can wait to upload those a little later once you're selected to proceed. But if you want to complete those because you want to come back to this, make sure that you complete this whole thing and that this green for your uploaded document is in green in terms of the status. Green means completed. Red is pending, basically. So make sure that is in green. So lastly, once you upload all the documents, and if you need help, look at the screenshots and the step-by-step guide, you are going to be linking your banking information. I did mention that all the funds you're going to get is going to be through electronic transfer. That means if you don't have a bank account and you don't have electronic transfer as a way of receiving funds, you will not get a check nor a cash payment for this program. You will be unable to receive funds. So there are two ways where you can get the money, either through the traditional bank account, so you can transfer funds with your bank, or you could be a subscriber to the PLAID app, Played, which is an app that Industry has partnered with that really verify bank info for those who subscribe to it. So it'll be the quickest way to get your money. But if you don't have that, do not worry about it. You could just use your regular bank to actually transfer the money once you actually have been selected and awarded a grant. So after you get the money, that's it. Make sure you receive the money, use it within the time frame we talked about, March 1st of 2020 and April 1st of 2021 for expenses that are eligible that have not been paid out by any other grant program, and that you keep the receipts in the box in case you get asked to provide those down the road. And right now, I'd like to invite you to think about 10 businesses that may owe you funds from account receivable that you have not received money from. Please encourage them to apply for the grant program. And also for all those expenses that you're waiting to pay and have been unable to pay for your accounts payable, please do think about those users and apply for the grant program, and that you can utilize the additional cash flow for your business to recover. So again, the program is located at www.nysmallbusinessrecovery.com, and you can actually call for any questions you have on the program from Monday to Friday, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. at 1-877-721-0097. So now I encourage any questions that we may have received from the from YouTube Live or Facebook Live. Thank you. Back to you, Lucy.
Okay, I'm looking to see what questions may have come up so that they can be answered. I don't see any questions. We'll wait a couple of seconds here, see if there's questions that pop up. Okay, well, Huey-Min Chuang, you certainly have given us a comprehensive presentation. I do not see any questions from our audience. So I'd want to take the opportunity to thank you for this presentation. It certainly is helping us and our businesses to be able to access these funds and work with the state to really help get all our businesses back in order. I'd like to thank Al Samuels and Tom Morley, as well as our county executive, for participating with us today and giving us the information that we need to move forward. I'm sure, Tom, that you'll be very busy getting applications and questions from our audience regarding this program. And please know that the Office of Empire State Development, our County Economic Development Office, as well as the SBDC, and certainly the RBA, are always available to assist you with this and other programs that are coming out from the state, the federal government, as well as from the county. With that, I'd like to thank you all for participating in today's webinar. We hope you found the webinar informative. We look forward to your participation on this program, as well as other programs that we hope to be bringing to you as they develop. Thank you all and have a great day.
Thank you. Have a good afternoon.